as I said, Bantu education, all of those were obvious forms of oppression. But then I had to think about, is it possible, in fact, that apartheid also oppresses white South Africans? And I realized that yes, indeed, it does. And their oppression was fear. A fear that they lived with constantly. They talked about the black onslaught that they were terrified of, that this idea that black people were just waiting to slaughter every single white person, that they lived with a fear that their privilege would be taken away from them. And that fear caused them to keep writing more and more laws to stop any kind of critique or dissension from apartheid, even from white South Africans. Their fear led them to force their sons to serve time in the military in our communities. Their fear taught them, forced them to not be willing to hear any questioning, even from within their community. So they banned, they tortured, they arrested, they killed, and they still were afraid. It didn't matter how many laws they passed. It didn't matter how many people they killed. It didn't matter how many organizations they banned. It didn't matter that they arrested younger and younger people. It didn't matter that they forced more and more people to flee the country. They still lived with fear. And it was a fear that they could not escape from. As long as we were oppressed, they could not be free from their fear. And so, whilst we were oppressed, as I said, and it was clear, we at least were struggling for our liberation, whilst they were fighting to maintain their oppression. And once I had my eyes opened to how oppression can look different, I recognized it in so many incidents that occurred in my life in South Africa.